So today we want to get started on shading, and if you're wondering, Miss O, your portrait looks a little different, it's because tragedy struck here. I got really into cleaning and was throwing away a bunch of papers, and I definitely threw away my portrait. So I have another quick portrait here, even though it looks a tiny bit different than the first one, but what are you going to do? So you want to start off by erasing your vertical and horizontal lines, so any of the lines that you use to map out your features. And then I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to start erasing the lines that I no longer need. So you can use a white eraser like I'm using here. If you have a kneaded eraser, you can use that. But I'm just going to start dabbing, lightly erasing, trying to get rid of anything that is too dark. And if you're wondering, well, Miss O, some areas are dark in my portrait, but the thing is we don't want any of the darkness to be defined by line. We want the darkness to be defined by shading. So go ahead and get rid of anything that looks too dark or is standing out or anything that's incorrect or unnecessary. The next thing I'm going to want to do is put an even tone over my entire portrait. And I have a pencil bundle, so I'm using a 4B. You can use a 6B. If you don't have a pencil bundle, then the placement of how you're holding your pencil is going to be extra important. You want to hold it far back so that you're not putting a lot of pressure. And you want to use the side of your pencil and start slowly shading over the entire thing, barely putting any weight down. If you have to get pretty dark, then you're going to want to do this in layers so that it's nice and even. As you're shading, make sure that you also do your hair as well. We're not actually shading the hair here, but we again just want to put a light tone, and you can get a little bit darker on your hair if you want. If you know that you have dark hair, right, then you know that you're going to have to shade that later. Adding this even tone is going to maybe take some more time right now, but in the end it's going to save us a lot of time because we're going to be working with what's called an additive and subtractive method. So we have a base tone, which is our skin tone, and then we're going to be carving out our highlights, and then we're going to be using our pencil to add more value, adding the shadows. At this point you have one of two choices. You can take a piece of tissue and you can sort of blend the graphite together, or if you're using a harder pencil because you don't have a drawing pencil and you're finding it's not blending very well, you can always go the opposite direction. So the first time I went this direction, and when I go the opposite direction, then I'm not going to be able to see the lines as much because now I'm evening them out going the other way. So at this point now I can start working in feature by feature. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the eyes. So as I look at the picture of my eyes versus the drawing of my eyes, I can obviously see that I'm missing a lot of darks. So what I want to do is now just start shading piece by piece. And every time I shade, I want to be asking myself, where do I see light? Where do I see midtone? Where do I see shadow? So as I'm looking at the eyes, my white would be the white of my eyes too. And then I would also notice that there's kind of a highlight here on my brow. I would notice there's some light here, there's some light here, and then of course there's the actual white of my eye. Then I can say what's my midtone. So my midtone is the skin, which I already have. And then asking myself, where do I see darkness? So I see darkness here in my lash line, in my eyelashes, in my eyebrows, here underneath my eye a little bit, and then the tear duct. So then I'm going to go ahead and start shading that. I'm going to start by carving out my highlights. So I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to erase / carve out the lights that I see. you're having a hard time seeing the lights, you can always put your photo in editor and then up the contrast, and that'll help you see where the lights and darks are. So I've carved out with my eraser the whites. And now I'm going to go back in with my pencil, and I'm just going to slowly start shading. Now remember, when we shade, we want to make lots of controlled strokes. We don't just want to go in really hard right away. That's not going to make it look natural. And what we're going for here is something that's naturalistic. So I'm shading, making small strokes, going back and forth, varying the amount of pressure. And how I've mentioned before, you want to spend just as much time looking at your drawing as you are looking at your photo. So don't just guess like, oh, I already have my drawing there, so I'm going to just go for it. You want to really keep checking yourself the whole time. Coming down into the tear duct. Anytime you have little tiny highlights like this, I like to make dots with my pencil, because by making dots, I'm more likely to keep a little bit of light in there. Then, how we talked about with the eyes, you want to leave a blank space for the white of the eyes. So I'm just going to draw some circles here so that I don't forget to not shade that. Now I'm going to shade a little bit up here. And it's really important to not let your brain tell you that something's not that dark. So like, oh my goodness, that's going to look weird if it's that dark. But it won't look weird if it's that dark. It's going to eventually make sense once you get everything else in. And now I'm going to work a little bit on the eyelashes and the eyebrows, which I know are a concern for a lot of people. So you really have to just look at your particular eyebrow and eyelash shape. So first thing is to notice is, what is the direction of the hair? So mine are going out, out, out. Some people's go forward a little bit more. Some might be more curved to one angle or another, one side or the other. Just depends. So I think it's helpful to first trace with your pencil the shape, or with your mouse going up, 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 up to get it into your hand, to get it into your body. And then go over to your eye and make those marks that you see. And I'm not sure how to emphasize this, but less is more. Don't make yourself look like a tarantula. Just do a couple of eyelashes. Less is definitely more. You can always add more later, but it's a lot harder to go back in and then erase them without erasing anything else that you've done. So now I'm going to go into the eyebrows. So for the eyebrows, I want to already have sort of a general shape mark. Make sure that you don't have a full-on outline, otherwise it's going to look a little too severe. And then I'm going to start on the inner corner here, and I'm noticing that my eyebrows are going this way. So I'm just going to make a series of marks that are overlapping. I'm pressing really lightly. Just overlapping, 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 and when I get down here, following the direction of the eyebrow, down, down, down. And if you feel that you've maybe gone too far, you can always take your eraser and then again carve that back out. And that's all that I'm going to do for now. So now I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the other eye.